Recently, Alex Jones had Charlotte Iserbyt on his show to conduct some damage control on an issue that he has been dodging for quite a while, the issue of the Council for National Policy. The reason Alex dodges the Council for National Policy is because he has connections to the CNP himself. In this interview with Charlotte Iserbyt, he referenced an interview that he did with Joel Skousen some weeks or a few months back, and in attempting to conduct damage control, Alex Jones actually destroyed his own credibility completely, and you will see exactly why in this two-part series, where I will show you clips from the Charlotte Iserbyt interview along with clips from the Joel Skousen interview, and the two people have completely contradictory stories, and at one point in the Charlotte Iserbyt interview that you will see, he actually references the Joel Skousen interview, claiming that Joel Skousen and Charlotte Iserbyt agree, when in all reality they have completely conflicting viewpoints. One thing I find both interesting and hilarious is in the beginning of the clip when Alex Jones is introducing Charlotte Iserbyt, you can actually notice Alex Jones pull an uncomfortable butt clench in just uttering the words CNP.
There's a left-wing CFR-funded conspiracy theory that says some group called the CNP runs everything. And it's a total diversion, but we'll talk about it on the other side. We're going to have Charlotte Iserbyt popping back in. Hadn't had her on in over a year and a half, and this will be our third visit with her in the last 2 months. Because at the end of the show, when she was on with us early last week, she wanted to get into an organization I've heard a lot about over the years, the CNP. And so we'll get more details from her coming up on that and how she believes they're infiltrating and controlling the Republican Party, not just the Democratic Party. And we really appreciate her joining us. The reason she's on with us for the next 20 minutes is she was on about a week and a half ago, and the show ended right as she was getting into how conservatives are controlled. And she brought up the CNP, which I haven't done a lot of research on. People have asked about it, so I've done some, that reportedly the Hunt brothers helped set up and things. And she was saying that that's not a real organization, or that isn't a conservative group trying to take America back or fight the New World Order, as they claimed, but actually is the New World Order and her experiences with them. So I wanted to get her up.
The CNP, I'm just going to briefly tell you my experience. When I was in the Department of Education, I got down there, I was just bewildered all the time by different things that kept happening. And so I finally get fired because I leaked a document which was to control the curriculum on the computer throughout the country. And I couldn't understand why Ronald Reagan was allowing that to happen. I was beginning to see that Ronald Reagan was not at all what I had thought he was. You have to ask yourself why, while I was in the Department of Ed, I was a liaison with the White House for really public-private partnerships, which is the merging of the public and private sector. That's the Communist Manifesto, okay? And where government and business are merged together. So anyway, they were putting that in under Reagan, and I asked at the White House, I said, what on earth are they doing this for? Isn't this corporate fascism? And I was told, I guess that the people involved, all the high-up elitist people on the task force, they just don't see it that way. So I was becoming very suspicious. Then when I get out, I write a little book, Back to Basics Reform, or Skinnerian International Curriculum. And that was a brilliant little book. It's only 39 pages, and it is on my Deliberate Dumbing Down website as a free PDF.
And it's how they turn the kids into biological robots, not free-thinking creatures.
Yes, that's right. So anyway, we're talking about CNP. All of a sudden, I thought, everybody would want this little book. Well, it was boycotted by every single major conservative organization in the country. And I thought, what on earth is wrong here? Because folks, go read that book.
Now, I played a British government-funded cartoon for kids yesterday where they teach them that cities will be prison and that the government will decide what you're going to be.
Well, that's exactly what we're looking at in the charter school movement. And the charter school movement, which is being supported by the school choice charter school movement being supported heavily by the Heritage Foundation, the Council for National Policy, etc.
Excuse me, Charlotte, that program is supported by who?
The school choice charter school movement being supported heavily by the Heritage Foundation, the Council for National Policy, etc.
Okay, that's exactly what I thought you said. Well, whenever you purchase something from Infowars.com, they send you a free pocket constitution, and Infowars gets their pocket constitutions from none other than the Heritage Foundation. Check into that for yourself. It's an interesting little fact.
I realize that the CNP is just about as right as it comes. They're funded by Heritage, funded by Course, funded by all these. No. The Council for National Policy is the right-wing arm of the dialectic. It's the same as the CFR, and in fact, many of the people with the CFR funded it. All right.
Well, I've always heard the right call the CFR liberal, but I mean, it's full-spectrum liberals and conservatives in the CFR.
Oh, yes, of course, and it's full-spectrum liberals and conservatives.
So this is like the Republican version of that, I guess, to pull in conservatives and then control and influence them. Is the whole CMP bad? And there's also a lot of people who've been in the CMP, like a Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, and he's grown. You know, he's learned things. I've talked to him about it. He just says it's basically ineffectual.
Oh, that's not true at all.
Okay, well then tell me because you know him.
You didn't let me finish the end of it, Alex.
Go ahead.
The most important part is Rosalind Haley from Midland, Texas, who Ron Paul knows, and we all know her as a great grande dame. She was a member of the CNP. And I had this project that I wanted to get going, and I talked to Roz, and she said, that's great. We tried to get help. So we sent a big yellow manila envelope full of clippings about Soviet tanks and training and all in the southern United States and exchanges and everything to every member of this Council for National Policy, which is made up of top businessmen and the heads of all of the conservative groups in this country, just about, okay? And we asked for help on this project. We wanted help on this getting out of the UN project. We got one response. I'll tell you, I didn't put my name on it because that's real mud. You know, I knew that they wouldn't do anything if they saw Iserbeat. So it was Roz Haley, the grande dame, the woman that they admired. She signed it. She sent it out. We got one response from Lou Sheldon at Traditional Values. We did not hear from anyone else. Now, if that doesn't tell your listeners, stay away from every single conservative group you know. I mean, we get one response from 300 people who tell us they're trying to save the United States. That's the goal of the CMP, to save the United States for our children, to clean up education, to take care of taxes, and what a big bunch of you-know-what.
Boy, so again, from your perspective, a brief history of the CMP, and where are they in the power structure from your research?
Well, I mean, you had Paul Weyrich, was very important. He died recently. He was the initial head of the Heritage Foundation, and then he had his Family Research Council, and then you've got Edwin Fulner, who came on as the head of the Heritage Foundation later, and then you've got all of the other conservative organizations. You've got, these are people that I've worked with and liked, so I don't even like to talk about them, but people like, Howard Phillips and James Dobson, but I have to say, and LaHaye, Beverly LaHaye and Tim LaHaye, I'll tell you.
What about Phyllis Schlafly? I mean, is she New World Order?
Phyllis Schlafly, who I know very, very well and have worked with for ages. So it's not much fun for me to talk about these people.
So, I mean, are they consciously bad?
Well, it's very hard to say. And I have to say something for Phyllis, although, unfortunately, she has really been, and I've worked with her on this, she's been on the wrong side with charter schools. She's never seemed to get it. But I have to give her credit on the Constitutional Convention. Nobody has done better work to keep us from having a Constitutional Convention than Phyllis Schlafly. I personally, don't ask me why she can be so good on that. And then support charter schools, which are going to be the vehicle which will bring this country down into the planned economy with unelected boards across the board.
No, but that's my issue is that I know the CFR's bad, and but a lot of their members are mid-level. They're brought in to be co-opted and controlled. I, from my research, do believe that, I don't know if it was founded good or got taken over, but certainly the CMP goes along with the whole neocon agenda and is bad. I just get emails saying, cover the CMP, so I've done research on it.
It was funded by Rockefeller and Scaife Mellon and all, same as Heritage. And really, wait a minute, do you think that the Rockefellers, well, they do fund everything, both sides, but they knew they had, they set up this conservative think tank, the CMP, sort of, and all the conservative organizations belong to it, plus corporate sector.
No, I know they set up Heritage. You're saying you're sure they set it up? Wow, then it's purely bad then.
Yes. And what I want you to do, because I'm not the expert on this, but I've told you, Alex, you must interview Kelly Nelson and Shay Simonton. These are brilliant gals who are out there. Nobody ever heard of them because nobody wants anybody to hear of them.
Well, I'll tell you who talked about this briefly in an interview, and I should have gone into it in more depth because, he's his uncle was a conservative icon. He's very well known. That's Joel Skousen of Cleon Skousen family, and he agrees with you.
Yeah, absolutely not true. It's become a very lackluster organization that really doesn't do anything except collect fees.
So, and in fact, we went and interviewed him in a two-part interview on this subject and other subjects, how the neocons control the conservative movement. That video is going up on prisonplanet.tv either tomorrow or...
Well, that's terribly important, I'm glad you're doing that.
Do you see how Alex just tried to manipulate the entire listening audience? He knows that most people will not remember word for word or exactly topic by topic what was necessarily said weeks or months ago in an interview with another person, and most likely the majority of the audience will not go back and check the interview to see exactly what was said. And an even smaller part of the audience, if any, will go out of their way to make videos like this to prove to the rest of the listening audience that in all reality Alex Jones is really here to divert what could be a real movement to get things done and accomplish goals against the New World Order and funnel that energy in a direction that becomes ineffectual and or creates positive events for the New World Order.
We've got a report coming out that gets into how the conservative movement's controlled, and we've, of course, covered that a lot in the past from the Council on Foreign Relations that is bipartisan, but also how the establishment tried to go in and control the anti-New World Order movement.
This one is Freemasonic. He likes to, throw up pictures.
And that is this full-spectrum dominant system. Nothing can stop you, as the American people, from going out and running for office yourself and sticking to the issues and not being co-opted. There's been an attempt to co-opt the Tea Party. It's been somewhat successful, but not overall. And that's why we're getting major traction because of people like Charlotte Iserby over the years and Dr. Stan Monteith.
Alex, are you insane? Dr. Stan Monteith is a member of the Council for National Policy. That's a terrible example. You should know that. He's another one of your fake patriot buddies.
What you've got to understand is that the infiltration is complete across the board. And remember, CMP is all the different groups. And I've been disappointed all the way down the line. But the most important thing now, folks, is the Heritage Foundation affiliates in every state that are pushing for the end of our political and economic system as we have known it through charter schools. I keep telling you this. Charter schools will set in motion getting rid of all forms of elected officials, starting with school boards.
Yeah, regional government, putting it all under federal and international, amazing.
Yes, and also the Soviet Polytech planned economy is being put in right now. This is what Reagan did. The plans were for this, and Norman Dodd knew all about it too. But it's going in right now, and you have to go after the Heritage affiliate in your state. You find out what that affiliate is, and you go up against them and their funding of money to
Bob
get
Chapman's holding.
schools.
Bob.
And now that you've seen this, stay tuned for part 2 of this tiny series and see more clips of the Joel Skousen interview, which really hammer this point home. And don't forget to tune into my radio show In Search of the Truth every Sunday and Wednesday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time at slimswayze.com. SLIMSWAYZE.com.